Welcome to the studio at That Nerd Show and Film Fans Media. I am Marcus Blake, and I am speaking with Valentina Harizi for her short film, Behind the Scenes, which deals with kind of the ramifications of always being on social media and screen time. Welcome to our studio. It is a great pleasure to chat with you about this film. I want to start off by saying I loved it, was very impressed with it, and even more shocked when John told me you were 17. It's very, very
Thank,
receptive as a 17-year-old for the subject matter of this film.
thank you so much. Well, I'm actually 18 now.
Oh,
I'm about to
okay.
start college, but I did shoot it and write it and directed when I was 17. So
Well,
you're right on the boat.
still, I mean, still very, very impressive. Uh,
Thank you.
okay. So my first question, what inspired you to want to do this film and to tackle this subject matter?
Okay. Well, I I'm like the first generation who really grew up with social media. I saw, I was in middle school when Instagram stories came out and all these beloved app features were coming out that have been so useful into connecting us. But what I really noticed is that after the pandemic, when we were returning to normal life, I realized that our social media life had become or had stayed unnormal. Our whole approach with relationships and our identity had been completely transformed with the rise of social media and the
Right.
rise of Instagram. And particularly, my best friend, who was once super spontaneous and bubbly, had become this very consumed, addicted person to to social media. And she was just, it was so hard to see her um, going through these severe body dysmorphia issues, and just this anxiety that was prevailing around a lot of young teens who don't feel comfortable and who feel
Right.
isolated and lonely due to social media. Because the irony of this is that social media's whole premise is create more connections with people. You have more friends. The average Gen X had maybe 10 friends, and now people have 10 times that, hundreds times that. And you have all these connections, but at the same time, they're all a lot shallow, like
Yeah.
a lot more shallow. And so there's this increased loneliness feeling,
Right.
especially among young teens that before we didn't feel as much.
See, and I think that's kind of the difference in how we define friendship. And I am that Gen Xer who, remembers the days before the internet and stuff. I mean, when I graduated high school, internet was still kind of a thing. You were just, getting online, chat rooms. I remember going off to college and getting my first email. And
Yeah.
but growing up in social media, so I think you kind of a generational thing. You look at it as that social media friends, but real friends are the ones that you do see physically. You go and have dinner and party and watch movies with and stuff like that. So it's
Yeah, and the sad thing though is that even your real life friends, like who might be just too, hooked on their phones, or like almost programmed to check on it every 5 minutes to see
yeah,
what's the latest notification, who has seen my story. Like
right.
before we didn't know this information, and I think it was also helpful because now we're just our whole self-worth depends on who's
Right.
liking our stuff, who's
Yeah.
seeing this, who's sharing that, and who's commenting this and such. And so there's this whole like calculative nature to relationships
Yeah.
that it didn't really exist before. And it has obviously detrimental effects on,
Yeah. Although as a
our
guy, I don't think there's anything wrong with checking the score every 5 minutes on your phone. No, I'm just kidding.
No, and I mean, it's like, of course, there's good things about social media
Right.
too. Like, I mean, for example, before, like, you didn't know if for dating, right? You didn't know who you were meeting with. It could have been something. So now you can, social media is a tool to get to know someone a bit better. Like, oh, this guy has a creepy feeling or vibe to him,
Right.
or this girl, she seems a bit too self-involved, or, we don't really like the same things.
You
But
know,
but also in hindsight, there's this whole curated aspect to it. So even the people, the me that I show myself is always going to be a bit edited, and sometimes people take it too extreme, and the me that they show is just completely false and curated, and it's this metamorphosis
right.
of the best
It's
version of
interesting
myself.
that you bring up dating, because we live in a world of dating apps and stuff like that. And I find it kind of strange that people get offended that, you're meeting someone on a dating app and you're chatting and all that, but then you might figure out their social media and look them up and all that to see what their vibe is. And I'm like, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's not.
Right. It's like almost a safety thing, even,
Yeah.
you know?
So I'm like, and when I did online dating, I would have that have, and I would mention like after, so like I did, but my social media is very, very public for what we do. Like I only
Yes.
put things out there, not, anything personal. My mother can't comment on everything as much as she would want to. Uh,
Yeah.
so the story of your film really is about a couple and their relationship being displayed on social media. It isn't just everyday life. Why did you choose a loving couple in a relationship as the premise? Uh,
Well, because I think that relationships, romantic relationships especially, have been transformed with the
right,
rise of social media. I think that now, couples, if they're not showing that they are in love and they are, sometimes they'll put even very intimate private pictures. I'm like, I'm not even sure if this is the right social media platform to put these pictures online. But it's like, if it's not open to the public, if it's not documented, if it's not shared, it doesn't mean a thing.
man.
It
I
doesn't mean what?
mean, if you really talk about one of the most profound lines in a movie in a statement, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook relationship status. It's what drives.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, exactly. And so um, it's not about you being the thing that is happening. It's about showing what's happening to you. And it's there's this kind of emptiness. It's almost like we're becoming pictures instead of real three-dimensional beings with feelings and emotions. And so I wanted to follow a couple who had, obviously each of them have a different approach to social media, because
yeah,
the boyfriend has a more incognito approach to social media. It's not that he doesn't use it. I don't
right.
really specify what is his relationship to social media, but he definitely is not the kind of person who wants to be sharing this, whether it is that he doesn't believe in it or he just wants to kind of keep things in the down low, because a lot of people like to hide behind their screens. And then on the flip side, you have the girlfriend who, could very much be genuinely in love with this guy, but is so obsessed with showing people
Yeah.
that she's in love and showing that love, that the love kind of disappears only to in the digital realm, and it's not felt physically in the
You make
room.
a statement that it's showing the best versions of yourself on social media.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of ironic because, is it really the best versions of yourself that you're putting out there? It's edited? Is it truthful? I always go back to one of my favorite writers and playwrights, Oscar Wilde, and I'm
Mm.
paraphrasing, who said, if you want someone to tell the truth, give them a mask.
Yeah,
And
that's
that,
beautiful. The
I
importance. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we do on social media too. It's that what we are putting out there. Would we really put the ultimate truth of everything about ourselves for everybody to scrutinize on social media, or is it only what we want people to see?
It is most of the time only what we want people to see, and it also can be limiting because what we deem is socially more likable might not actually be the more likable thing,
Yeah,
and it's creating it's like a bad screenplay, you know? It's like creating these one-dimensional characters who want to be defined by one or two things that don't, you know what I mean? Who you know that kids, but also grannies will love. And it's not like that. You know, we are complicated human beings. We contradict ourselves all the time. And you know, you have two ways of approaching this. You can be someone very authentic and just not overthink what you want to show online, or you can just also keep it to yourself because only lucky people should be able to really know the real you.
yeah.
And not everyone needs to know, you know, the real you. A lot of people shouldn't have that information because they might not use that information for your own good.
Yeah.
So I think that as humans, we need a public domain, we need a private domain. And I think that the problem is that too many people are using social media for their private, personal
Yeah.
um, happiness. And that's
I also
detrimental. We're putting all this personal value on
yeah.
a phone.
Also had to say it, but some people on social media they're just not that interesting. I don't really care what you had for dinner tonight.
Yes, yes. Unfortunately, too many, that's also something with you might have noticed in the film there's a statue in Act Two,
Yeah.
and it's actually the Narcissus statue, which is inspired by the Greek mythology on this Narcissus who sees his reflection in a pond and he falls in love with it, and so he tries to touch it and he falls in the lake and he dies. But then a narcissus flower grows, and that's kind of how the narcissus flower came to life. And I was inspired by that legend because I feel like we have become more narcissistic with
Oh yeah.
thanks to social media. I mean, and I'm not saying that everyone who uses social media is a narcissist, not at all. But I'm saying that we're developing more narcissistic traits because we're so obsessed with ourselves and we spend so much time of our daily lives thinking about ourselves instead of thinking, what is my ex so and so doing, or what is
Right.
she feeling? We're
So
thinking about us.
when did you first get on social media? How old were you?
I had Musically, which is like a really old version of TikTok that no longer exists. It became TikTok later, but I had Musically when I was like 10 because my friends were like on Musically, which I think I've always felt kind of like a black sheep with social media. Like I've had social media, been on there, but I've never been really appealed to it. So I
Okay.
had Musically, and did like fun dancing videos online, but I wasn't too obsessed. Like I was the kind of person that if I had a friend over, I would put my phone or my iPad away. I wouldn't feel like the need. But as social media apps have been developed and have become more intricate, also their softwares and their addiction have become a lot more strong. So
Well,
the softwares that I was dealing with when I was 10 are not the same softwares as now. And for example, with TikTok, I was like, I don't want this. This is addictive. I remember when I had it in the pandemic,
yeah.
too
Okay.
much time on it.
So obviously, after doing this film, I think it would be obvious that how you approach social media now is very different than, before the pandemic. How do you use social media now?
Well, I try not to. I only use social media um, because as a business tool, because as an artist, it's such a great platform to share people your projects and keep, grow an audience that will be following, your films and what you're doing for hopefully the rest of your life. So
Right.
as that, it's very useful and, you can't really not have anything or else you don't really feel like you don't seem like a legit artist or business. So I do use it for that, but I also have like a 30-minute daily screen time for Instagram. after that, after I do like what I need to do, I say, if you want to like contact me through WhatsApp, contact me through message, or give me a phone call, or meet me in person. Like anything, I don't honestly like, yes, reels are funny, some are really funny, but at
Yeah,
the same time, like, I don't, then I feel bad. It's like eating a kind of good piece of cake. Like you ate it, but you didn't really like it, and you feel like you wasted this time or this energy for nothing.
yeah.
So that's just my approach.
I had Sonic 2 weeks ago, and I felt the same way. I'm like, yeah, this is why I don't do fast food in my 40s.
Yeah, it's just like it's just it's just never gonna be the same as having a real funny conversation in person with a friend.
No, I mean,
And
most of our staff, most of us are veterans. We're all about the same age, late 30s and 40s and, Gen X. And our thing is, it's more fun to, especially after we do press screenings, to go out and have a drink, to talk movies and this and that, and to socialize and not be on your phone.
yeah.
I have my group chats with staff where we're just nerding out about different things. But the other thing I think about social media is it also becomes a very big propaganda tool.
Hmm.
We have seen that in politics. So, um, as someone who's 18 going on into college, in your opinion, how do you think that there should be an age limit? Like there should be you have to hit a certain age before you're allowed on social media?
I mean, well, we've seen it that a lot of states have now been trying to take action with this issue because screen addiction is an issue that
Sure.
needs addressing now to save our future generations. And I think that like for example, Utah, I know that until you're a legal adult, you need to have parental consent to be on social media. But in some other states, it's 13 years old. Now there's a COSPA bill that was passed by the Senate that is basically gives parents
Well,
regulation.
that's government trying to do its thing, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but like in your opinion, I mean,
Yeah, so I was saying, so there's these different ways. In my opinion, um, it's like finding the middle ground. I think that there definitely should be an age limit, a minimum age. I think that I was lucky personally that I didn't find maybe harmful videos or content when I was really, really young and impressionable, but that's not the case for everyone. And I know that even in my social circle, there were people at 10 who had already seen Pornhub because it's just there online for everyone to see. And it's ridiculous that a little kid have
yeah,
access to those kinds of videos. So I think that there needs to be an age limit. I think that 13 at least, but also there needs to be how much time you
right.
spend because
I think
it's not only about having access, but it's also how much time in the day do you want to give yourself that access. And these social media apps, since their softwares are so addictive, and that's how they make money. I mean, this is a business model. The more they keep you on there, the more money they're going to make. So
right,
it's like anti-business to ask them, don't make this more addictive. Like you can't
right.
ask a business of that. You have to take control.
Oh,
And parents should at least be able to determine, through apps
well,
like,
that's a whole rabbit hole and a great discussion that it needs to be talked about. So,
yeah,
this is your first film.
yes.
Are you wanting to do more films and be a filmmaker?
Yes,
Oh,
definitely. I mean, I love acting and filmmaking, and I like the adrenaline from acting and the compassion you build for characters with acting, but I also love the creative control around directing. So I really want to do both with my
okay.
films, and it's really funny. I have had like a bit of a writer's block this past year while I was really working on my film. I wanted to, as a filmmaker, you always want to do your next project. And then suddenly, this last month, I've had so much inspiration for my next film, and I've been like writing a feature that is going to be pretty neat, and I'm
Okay.
very excited about. So I am already writing the script, and I feel like it's, when you
Oh,
feel like things have clicked, and that's what I feel with this one.
well,
So this
I
won't be my last
good
for
because I
sure.
have no doubt we're going to be interviewing you again. I always like
Thank you.
meeting filmmakers at the beginning of their journey. Um, so, all right, as a filmmaker, um, what movie inspired you to be a filmmaker? What lit your fuse? So,
Hmm. I mean, I would say either um, Space Odyssey or Mulholland Drive.
wow. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I 20 years later, it's like, has anybody actually figured out Mulholland Drive at this point?
It's so crazy. I love it. I love films that don't take themselves so seriously, I mean, of course they take themselves seriously, but it's like David Lynch is a genius and
Yeah,
he just isn't afraid to go there, whether
right.
it be for sound design or just like narrative plot points and you're jumping from one scene to another and you're like, what is going on? But it just works. And I was really inspired by that kind of approach to filmmaking that you should be comfortable maybe doing
Yeah.
something that is untraditional. Look at the camera if you want to, keep the light fixtures if you want to, make the statue move if you want to, because it's your film and sometimes crazy works.
I love the films that are just pure popcorn entertainment. That's all it is. I mean, of course, we love Deadpool and Wolverine, and yeah,
Yeah.
but then you get these movies that you have to watch more than once for that discussion to really dive into what they're talking about. And um, some are like, I still haven't figured it out. But I love the imagery. I love that it is worthy of it. Cameron Crowe was somebody who said that. I said that after Vanilla when he did Vanilla Sky. Love it or
Yeah.
hate it, you're going to walk out there out of the theater discussing what it is and what happened. And he was right.
Yes.
And you
Yeah,
need to.
it's exactly. And it's like an onion, you peel the onion and you uncover more and more. And those are, in my opinion, the best kinds of films because they're the ones that really get you thinking. And I mean, that's what I like about film. It's like discovering a new world, and you really feel you're part of that world if you get to really uncover all these clues and details that maybe are not so obvious at first.
You're already buying your tickets to Francis Ford Coppola's Megapolis. Mega
Yes, oh my God, I want to go
just
see
dropped the
it.
trailer today. At the
Yeah,
time of this
no,
interview, they dropped the new trailer. Still haven't figured out what's going on there, but I'm very, very intrigued. All
yes.
right.
And I,
Oh, as
oh
a
no, yeah.
go ahead. I am so sorry.
No, and I was also really inspired by 1920s French Impressionist films like Napoleon. So, and you'll kind of see that with my set. Like the set is its own third character in this film.
I am not your film teacher in college. You don't have to impress me.
No, no,
I'm just
no,
kidding.
but as a like since I'm half French, half Argentinian, I grew up watching those films genuinely. Like
No,
my
I
parents were
absolutely agree with you. All right. So I'm going to work in two nerdy questions here because we are still a nerd show.
okay.
And I believe me, I've been asking the question about films that inspire filmmaking. I've never gotten Mulholland Drive or Space Odyssey. That one, interesting. All right. If if you could star in, write, or direct, would you choose Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Okay. All right. Which leads me to if it sounds like you're a Star Trek fan, so I got to work this in real quick. Do you have a favorite series?
Um, No, I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite series, but I like the feel of Star Trek a bit more. I think it's a bit
Okay.
more out there,
All right.
and a bit more colorful. So
Okay.
I'd say Star Trek.
Awesome. All right. So here is our famous nerdy question that we ask all of our filmmakers.
Okay,
All right.
I'm ready.
That's the one you're not prepared for because you've never been asked this.
Okay.
If you could have a superpower or a weapon from within the nerd universe to fight the forces of evil, what would you choose?
Within the nerd universe. So are we talking like all kinds of Marvel films, what
Pretty much anything. That's why we kind of keep it open. It isn't really specific to one genre. Superpower, weapon, both. Anything that you would use to fight the forces of evil.
I would just be invisible. Like I would be invisible.
That's a very director's question right there. The stuff that you can discover just by being invisible.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah.
All right.
Knowing when to disappear is a superpower, in my opinion.
Very true. Very true. Wow, that's a very profound statement as well. Knowing when. Hmm. My assistant editor and I are going to have an interesting discussion on that. She is a huge superhero nerd. Her name is Allison Kostet. Her master's thesis in college was taking the X-Men and comparing it to Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Oh, wow.
That's why we hired her. It's like, I don't know anything else about you, but that alone.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So, all right. So you've got your world premiere uh,
Yes.
in Dallas this weekend. And what is next for this film?
Um, just continue raising awareness on screen addiction. I met with Representative Jamie Raskin, and we talked about once the film had its world premiere and be available online, he would share it with other policy advisors to continue circulating this message on screen addiction and to keep promoting new legislation to take place to help people regulate these softwares that are, deteriorating our mental health and well-being. So I am very, although maybe behind the scenes will have its festival circuit and it'll be over, my passion for the subject on screen addiction will never be over until I feel like it's been properly addressed. So I will keep on shedding light to this issue and hopefully using creative ways to bring people.
I mean, short films are great to develop a concept or a theme. Do you see this story turning into a feature, or are you already off to the next project?
I mean, I'm kind of already off to the next project, but never say never, and I liked that also a lot of people don't have great spams today. So I felt like if this is directed to a lot of people who have maybe a bit of screen addiction issues, like they might appreciate how effective the message can be under 20 minutes.
Yeah,
But maybe make it on. I'm never someone who just leaves things like that. So maybe in a couple, of years, I might make this into a feature. Who knows? If someone's interested in producing behind the scenes in a feature, just give me a call. But in the meantime, I'm now in a really good place with this next screenplay that I'm writing.
when you develop characters, and I've been a writer for 25 years, it's hard to leave certain characters to finally know that your journey with these characters are done, and then you go off. Sometimes you want to revisit something. So
Yeah,
that's the point, that it's never really completely done, or projects you just kind of abandon it for a while, and then you go back and see if there's more story there. So
yeah, exactly.
all right. Now you are off to college here this
Yes, I'm
month.
going to UC Berkeley
All right.
in a week. So
You excited?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's right after Dallas. So I get there like the night before college starts. So hopefully I won't be like too tired, but I'm excited.
Well, that's the journey of a filmmaker.
Yeah, I
Uh,
get to come back from Dallas, so I'm not complaining.
all right. Valentina, it was a great pleasure talking with you. And like I said, this was just an incredible film from somebody so young and so perceptive. And I think
Thank
it's
you.
an ongoing discussion that needs to continue to happen more than anything. So we can't wait to see what happens next. I can't wait to interview you on your next project. So, and enjoy the world premiere here in Dallas.
Thank you so much. It was an honor being here.